Okay, welcome to another video for learning how to factor three terms. Let's take a look at a problem. We'll start with 6x squared plus 11x plus 3. As you already know, whenever we are trying to factor, we always look for a greatest common factor first. Do you see one? No, because there isn't a greatest common factor for these three. But we do know that we see three terms. And you may have learned already that when we see three terms when it comes to factoring, we are going to use a technique called product sum. So off to the side, I'm just going to go ahead and abbreviate product sum. And what do you think I'm going to write under the word product? Okay, I'm going to take the coefficient of my squared term and I'm going to multiply that by this constant. So that gives me 18. And under sum, whatever the coefficient of my middle term is, 11 in this case. So there we go. So for the moment, let's not look at this anymore. We're going to focus on finding two numbers that will multiply together to give me 18. At the same time, those same two numbers must add up to give me 11. So let's start listing some factors of 18. Sure, 1 and 18, 1 times 18 will give me this, but there's no way these two can be added to give you that. So 2 times 9, I think we may have got a hit here. 2 times 9 will give me 18. 2 plus 9 will give you 11. It looks like we found our numbers. But wait, I want you to notice something. We are not going to take these two numbers and go directly to our answer like we would if this were the number 1. So I want you to make note of the fact that anytime we find ourselves looking at a number other than 1, we are going to do the following. I'm going to use these two numbers to break up this middle term. Everything else is going to stay the same. Watch. This remains 6x squared. But instead of 11x, I'm going to write positive 2x. And this is a positive 9, so I'll put plus 9x. And the positive 3 does not change. So this is what I'm going to factor. Take a look at what I've done. I've used these two numbers to break up this middle term, and now instead of 3 terms, I've got 4. And if you know how to factor using grouping, that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I have turned this into a grouping problem. Here's your first group. There's your second. So let's treat them like they are separate problems. Let's see what the greatest common factor is for these two terms. Looks like I can factor out a 2 and an x. So 2x times what will give me 6x squared? 3x. 2x times a 1 will give me back 2x. So I'm done with my first group. Let's move on to the second. I've got a plus sign here, so I'm going to keep that. I'll just bring it down. And I see that I can factor out a 3. So positive 3 is what I'm going to factor out. Get your parenthesis going. 3 times what? 3 times 3x will give you back 9x. And 3 times a positive 1 gives you back 3. As we have said, whenever you're grouping, what you have in the parentheses must be an exact match. And that's exactly what we have. So let's go to our final answer. What we have in the parentheses is a 3x plus 1. And in my other set of parentheses, the two items in front of the parentheses, I'm going to put them in their own set of parentheses like this. That's it. That is our answer. So, let's try another one. Let's go with 3z squared minus 11z plus 6. And I want to encourage you at any point in time to pause this video so that you can continue working with what you feel that you understand, and then come back to the video to compare what you've done to what I've done. All right, so do you see a greatest common factor? Anything that you can divide out of all three terms? No. No greatest common factor here for us. But we do see that we have three terms, and we know that that means we're going to use the product sum technique. So we'll take our coefficient of 3, multiply that by 6, and that's going to give us 18 under product. And under sum there, we'll go ahead and write the coefficient of our middle term, which is negative 11. So let's start looking for the two numbers that will multiply together to give you 18. And at the same time, those same two numbers must add up to give you negative 11. So let's see. Start listing factors of 18 if you don't immediately find it in your head. So 2 times 9 will give me 18. Now you know what? If I get my signs right, I think I can also add these two numbers up to get a negative 11. Let's go ahead and make both of these negative. Now they multiply to give me 18. They also add up to give me negative 11. So I have found the numbers I'm looking for. But notice, unlike when we have a 1 here, when we go directly to our answer, because this is a number other than a 1, we're always going to take those two numbers and break up this middle term so we can turn this into a grouping problem. Let's do that. Everything else stays the same. I still have 3z squared, but instead of minus 11z, I'm going to write minus 2z. I'm also going to minus 9z, and then plus 6. There we go. Now I have 4 terms, which you know means you can use grouping. Here's one group. We'll factor that one, then we'll come back and factor the second one. Let's do that. I see that the greatest common factor for these two appears to be a z. Get my parentheses going. Z times a 3z will give me back 3z squared, and z times a negative 2 will give me a negative 2z. Close up my parenthesis, and I'm done with that first group. Let's see what the second group holds for us. Because this is a minus here, I'm going to bring that down, and I can factor out a 3. So I'm factoring out really a negative 3. Get my parenthesis going. Negative 3 times 3z will give me back negative 9z, and negative 3 times negative 2 will give me back my positive 6. Lo and behold, what's in the parentheses are a perfect match. That always must happen when we use the method of grouping. So this means we're doing it correctly. Let's state our final answer. I'll go ahead and write down what's in the parentheses. And then in my second parentheses, the two items out in front, I'll go ahead and write them like that. And there you go. This is your final answer. And again, you can always double check, FOIL this out. That'll take you right back to where you started. Let's do another one. You've heard it a million times. Practice makes perfect. At some point with enough practice, you'll be doing factoring almost in your sleep. Actually, that would be a bad dream, wouldn't it? Let's do this. 12 r squared plus r minus 6. Okay, so quickly I see there is no greatest common factor. So because we have three terms here, let's use product sum. I'll start by taking the 12, multiply that by the -6. And again, if you feel that you can already get to the answer without watching me, pause this video, work it out as far as you can, and then come back. Okay. So let's see, 12 times a -6 gives us a -72. And under sum, I'm going to put the coefficient, there is the invisible 1 there. All right, so we're focused now on these two numbers. I am now looking for two numbers that will multiply to give me -72 and also add up to give you a +1. Let's search for those two numbers. 1 times 72, there's no way that these two are going to add up to give you 1. So let's keep moving. Let's just start listing factors of 72. This is not going to work. Certainly I can get 72, but there's no way it's going to add up to give me 1. So let's go to 3 times 24, 4 times 18, 5 times, well, 5's not going to work. Will 6 work? 6 times 12, nope. 7's not going to work. Well, I hope this works. 8 times 9. Now, you know, if you get the signs right on 8 and 9, I think you can make that work. Let's see. Here we go. If I make this a -8 times a +9, I get -72. And when I add these two together, I get 1. So these are the two numbers I'm looking for. Now, because this is not a 1, I'm going to use these two numbers to break up this middle term, and we will finish this problem off using grouping. So, nothing but the middle term will change. So this will stay, 12r squared. And I'll break that middle term up by saying -8r. That's a +9, so plus 9r. And the -6 stays the same. Now I have 4 terms, and you know that means we can use grouping. So let's break this up into 2 groups of 2. And let's see, looking at the first group, I can factor out a 4r. Get my parenthesis going. 4r times what will give me back 12r squared? Well, a 3 and another r will work. And then 4r times a -2, that'll give me back -8r, and we're done with the first group. For the second, that's a positive, so let's bring that down, and we can factor out a 3 from those two. So positive 3 times what will give you 9r? 3r. And positive 3 times negative 2 will give you back the negative 6 you're looking for. Okay, again, we've got a perfect match for what's inside the parentheses. That lets us know we're doing this correctly. Let's go to the final answer. 3r minus 2, because that's what's in parentheses. And then the 2 items in front of the parentheses, we'll go ahead and put them in here. Just like that. And that, my friends, is the final answer. All right. That is, I think I'm going to do one more. Just one more problem. After I write this problem down, as soon as I write it down, I want you to pause this video and go as far as you can towards the answer. Last one. 8x to the 4th minus 6x cubed plus 2x squared. Man, I'm getting hungry right now. I don't know what time it is as you watch this video, but I'm about to get out of here and get me something to eat. All right, like we always do, we always look for a greatest common factor. Do you see one? Yes, there is one. I see that I can factor out 2x squared. Yeah, I've got enough x's in each of these terms to where I can grab 2, no matter which term I go to. Yeah, 2x squared is my greatest common factor. So let's see what we have here. 2x squared times what will give me back my 8x to the 4th? Well, 4x squared. That'll work. 2x squared times what will give me back negative 6x cubed? Negative 3x. And 2x squared times a 1 will give me back 2x squared. Okay, so by factoring out this greatest common factor, look what remains. This is all I have to factor now. So we notice we have 3 terms, so you know I'm going to do product sum, so let's just get on with it. Let's take this coefficient and multiply it by the 1 here at the end, and that gives me 4 under product. And under sum, I'll go ahead and put down the negative 3 from here. Okay, so let's look for 2 numbers that can multiply together to give you 4 and add up to give you negative 3. And I'm thinking, will that work? No. Will this work? No. So that either means that I made a mistake somewhere, or this is as far as the problem can go. So let me just double check for a mistake here. Started off by saying that this was my greatest common factor. I still agree with that. This times this gives me this. This times this gives me this. And this times this gives me that. So this line is good. And we got 4 times 1, 4, negative 3 under sum. And when I listed the factors of 4, wow. Even if I do this, it's still not going to work. And so I'm thinking, ladies and gentlemen, well, that wouldn't have worked anyway, would it? I'm thinking, ladies and gentlemen, that this is going to be our final answer. I kind of thought we were going to have to go a little further than that, but as it turns out, we didn't. So that's as far as we go. All right, keep practicing your factoring. You'll get better.